Hello Pokemon XYZ fans, Draspee here. So, the final special really does not have much to go for plot. Really, it doesn't. Let's just be honest here. However, it has a lot to do with lore and the backstory of the XY series, and I would argue that Pokemon Special 1 is actually a canon continuation of the Pokemon XYZ of the Pokemon series, as in the video game series. Now, my argument for this would be the fact that we do not know the combined storyline of X and Y. We don't know why the war broke out. I say that this episode answers some of those questions. For starters, we see that there seems to be two factions. One more Greek-like, the Xerneas faction, it appears. And I mean, they might not necessarily be devoted to Xerneas, but it appears Yetzel's hostile to them. And then also there's this red faction that looks more Roman that appears to be trying to kill Xerneas. So it appears that there seems to be some sort of conflict, if you will. I mean, it appears that it's just sort of this Xerneas versus Yetzel sort of conflict that's going on, because, I mean, these Roman people don't seem exactly friendly to somebody who's like, hey, look, that's Xerneas. They're like, so what? And then we have Zygrad, who appears to be keeping order between the two groups. So I guess the explanation behind the war would be that the two groups fought each other, Xerneas and Yetzel groups. And then Zygrad somehow ended the war, but that wasn't talked about. So this special raises a lot of questions about the lore to me, because I personally don't think that there's anything in this special whatsoever pertaining to the plot, pertaining to the characters, because we know Professor Sycamore is a researcher, and unless the second part reveals some, like, amazing sort of... But I mean, this pretty much sums it up right here. There were two groups, maybe they had a couple wars, and Xerneas appears to be friendly towards one, and Yetzel might be the god of the other. And then Zygrad prevents them from killing each other. That appears to be what's going on, because I mean, like, in past series, we've kind of seen something similar to that. Like, we've seen Team Magma, Team Aqua, don't like to bring them up because they're not a very good example. And then we have Rayquaza, and that makes sense. Also, I would say further evidence is because the symbols for X and Y are red and blue. Then we got Zygrad keeping them apart. And we have Rayquaza keeping apart Groudon and Kyogre. I mean, it makes sense to me. But, however, why would you worship Yetzel? That's another question. But Pokemon doesn't always make sense. So that's just what I think this special is contributing. So the special should not be seen as an extension to the story so as much as a continuation of the lore that I would argue is canon. And Pokemon seems to be interested in summing up a lot of the lore issues, because Alola is apparently going to be a lot of story-based improvements. I mean, the gameplay is not going to be super compelling, I've heard, from what I've seen in the demo and such, but there's going to be some interesting lore stuff going on. So that's my take on this final sort of arc of XYZ, and how it's not so much a continuation of the series, but a wrapping up of some unanswered questions. And hopefully it will be sufficient. I think I might create a theory video on this to further flesh out my evidence for some of the unanswered questions, but I've got some other stuff to do, that requests that have been building up, and cross-country season's been getting in the way of that, so I will see you later as I try to catch up on all those requests that I have to fill. Draspee, out.